Right, so hey everyone and welcome back to another budget photography video. Look at all this room I have here. Normally, I used to be right about here and I would talk to you in my living room. This is still my living room, but I've been able to move some stuff around. We've moved stuff around, we've sorted some new stuff out, we've got rid of some old stuff, and now I disappear basically out of the screen on this new sofa that has created a lot more room for me, and I love it. The amount of comments, actually, I want to move it that way a little bit more. I feel like I'm too much over this side. I'm still working out a few kinks, to be fair. That's part of my light. There we go, that should be okay. How's that? Am I in the center of the frame? Yes, I am. The amount of comments that I've actually had over the years of me being too close to you guys is ridiculous. And I usually just ignore them because, well, there's not much that I could have done at the time. But now I have more room. So I'm improving on quality. At least I'm improving on quality rather than quantity. Yeah. Anyway, down to the video itself. So, the EOS RP, a really great little camera. And to me, I feel like if this probably should be your first beginner full frame mirrorless camera. And I'm a little bit biased because it was my first full frame mirrorless camera. I have had mirrorless before, but I was never completely sold on the idea of having a full frame mirrorless because, well, you know, the batteries were never that good. They were never really robust enough for me. They were just a bit of rubbish. But Canon really did do something really good with this camera. And it has its problems. It really does. Battery life is still pish. Let's say that. It still isn't very good. I mean, we've got this little tiny, I've got a third party, so a third party battery is always worse than a first party battery. But these are terrible. And I have used a first party Canon battery, but I have now lost it. So I do only have these third party. And I used to record with them and I'd get maybe one and a half videos of this out of them, and that was about it. Again, yes, that is because it's a third party, so you should probably get a first party battery, but still, even with the first party battery, I still wouldn't get that many videos. But if you are just looking for a camera to take pictures, then the batteries in it they're perfectly fine for just a day out and shooting. And they're relatively quick to charge because they are just so small. They don't take a lot of power to charge them. Meaning that what you can do, and what I have done many times, is actually buy a USB power brick and plug it into a charger. And you can charge 3 or 4 different batteries at the same time on the go. Meaning you never really have to run out of power. So battery power on that front isn't too bad if you don't mind having to keep, you know, changing batteries out for the next one if you're on the go. But if you do only want pictures on one battery, then that's fine. But as soon as you start videoing, especially in 4K, we're going to get to 4K in a minute, then I wouldn't really recommend it. Now, 4K. This has 4K video, which sounds amazing. 4K! 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 It's 1.6 times crop, which is not very good. So, as an example, I am filming at 24mm at full frame 4K 50, sorry. And if I add in a 1.6 times crop, it would look like this on a 24, roughly look like this. So if I was filming in 4K on the EOS RP, this is what it would look like roughly. Like this. I'm having to duck down. If I sit back to where I was, this is the shot. The camera hasn't moved. I've zoomed in about 1.6 times. Now, on the plus side, if you want to film in 4K and you have a really wide lens, like, I don't know, let's say a 15 to 35, you're going to get more reach, which is a good thing. It can be a good thing. I've used the 4K in this that is cropped at 1.6 times to my advantage, because the client wanted 1080p video. So all I did was I filmed in 4K at the 1.6 times crop. I filmed on a wider lens, which means I could be further away from the subject than what I could have done if I was just filming normally. And I still kept the 4K quality when I down-resed to 1080p. So there is that benefit. But if you are looking to vlog with this camera, then you're not going to be filming in 4K. Now, you do also have 1080p at 60 FPS, and to be fair, I would strongly recommend you shoot in 1080p, purely because that is, well, that's still the standard. And the 1080p from the Canon RP still looks really, really nice. You've got a great color science, obviously, because it's a Canon. Yes, you will be shooting in motion JPEG, but I feel like as if a filmmaker wouldn't really be buying this camera for more color grading potential. You could probably pull out some dynamic range into the color grading and change it slightly, but I wouldn't recommend it. Believe me, I've tried. Not good. Really not good. But as I said, in general, the 1080p is perfectly fine. You've got the great Canon color science, you've got the continuous autofocus, and you've got access to their new RF mount lenses. Now, yes, the new RF mount lenses, that is a problem and a benefit, because the two problems with the RF range, in my opinion, is the fact that there's not many of them yet, and they're quite expensive. I mean, the 24-105 here is just a basic kit lens. Just a basic kit lens, nothing special, nothing like, where is it? There it is. Nothing like this. This is the 24-105 EFL. That was the same price as this. Now, this is remarkably older, but this is an L lens. It's L lens. And it has its downsides. I've done a review on it, and I might do another one, I'm not sure. So you've got that L lens glass in here. It's ruggedly built. Believe me, I've had this lens for a very, very long time, and it's really good. But here's the thing, it is a continuous f4. So you've got a decently wide lens here at 24mm, which is roughly what you're seeing now, all the way to 105 at a continuous aperture, where this is an f4, so it starts at an f4 and then it goes down to an f5.6, which is not very good. But on another benefit of the RF glass, they are more technically advanced and they are designed to work with these cameras. But if you do want to adapt an EF lens to an RF mount camera, you do need one of these. This is an EF to RF mount adapter. So you put this on the camera here, and then you can get your EF lens and put it on the back here. Now, on the plus side though, if you do have one of these and you don't want to spend all that money on brand new RF glass, there is a wide variety of EF mount lenses that you can buy. I mean, here's the 70-200 f4, and it works perfectly. I mean, this is the Canon adapter. This isn't a third party, this is the Canon adapter. And I actually got it with the EOS RP here. So which means I can just put that on there and I've got a decent camera here. And with this adapter, you open yourself up to a whole new variety of perfectly good lenses. But as I did just say, the RF mount lenses are perfectly designed for mirrorless cameras. This does increase the flange distance, which does decrease image quality. But for the price, this 70-200 was a little bit more expensive than this 24-105 on here. And actually I've got a brand new EF, well, it's not brand new, but I've got a 300mm in my cupboard right now, EF mount, and it is absolutely amazing. Video to come soon. Let's get on to some more tech specs. Megapixels. We have 26 of them. Well, 26 million megapixels, but 26 megapixels. And that's pretty decent. It's more than I've got in my R6 that I'm filming on. This only has 20 megapixels. Well, 21, but 20. It's easier to say 20. So we have 26 megapixels in this full frame, decent camera. 26 megapixels, that's decently sharp. And yes, you will get lots and lots of detail. 26 megapixels to me is more than enough for a beginner, or even someone that's been doing this for a fair few years. Like myself, this is actually now my B cam. I'm going to be setting it up for clients as a B cam, and then this is going to be my A cam because this one has more bells and whistles. Now, yes, you could probably go and get another camera that has maybe more megapixels, but 26 for me is kind of perfect, really. You know, you've got a fair amount of detail. Low light, it does struggle in low light to some extent, which is really a pain in the bum because you've got a really nice sensor. But if you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of poor low light, I wouldn't say poor low light, it does do fairly decent in low light, but compared to other cameras, it's poor. But do bear in mind, this is an entry-level full-frame mirrorless camera. I nearly said DSLR then. I'm so used to saying DSLR. A full-frame, entry-level mirrorless camera. And you get everything you would really need. You've got 26 megapixels here. You've got 4K video at 25 frames per second. Then you've got a microphone input. Yes, you've got these silly little flaps here that are just rubbish, but you've got a headphone and a mic input just there. You've got the crappy HDMI port here that they really should have gone with a full one, but it's an entry-level mirrorless camera, so you can't really expect too much. You've got the tilty flippy LCD screen here. Let's put these back. You've got a tilty flippy LCD screen, meaning that you can see yourself when you want to film yourself, or however you want to, you know, frame your shot. If you're going above your head, or, you know, if you're going below, you can see everything. Its form factor is, bear in mind, I've got big hands. I do have big, manly, podgy sausage finger hands, and it's not very good in my eyes. It really isn't. I do have to put my little finger down here at the bottom to just, yeah. It's not the best. It really isn't. But if you do have smaller hands, then, well, I guess it's fine. And if you do have bigger hands like me, you can get a grip. Now, it's not a battery grip. This is what kind of annoyed me, Canon. You didn't make a battery grip. Now, I'm sure there are third-party battery grips out there for it, but you can get a first-party grip for this, which makes it a little bit bigger. It's just like that much bigger, just enough room to put your little pinky, so it's not just sat underneath the bottom of the camera. Now, the controls are okay. The one big problem that I have with them is actually a kind of a gripe with a lot of Canon cameras recently, and that is their shutter button. There's no click. Like if I push, what other button can I push? Here we go. The ISO button. Can you hear this? There's a nice little tactile click, and they used to be clicking on their entry-level DSLRs, and I don't know if that click is still there on them cameras because I haven't used one of their entry-level cameras, but on their new ones, there's no click at all. I mean, I'm pushing the shutter button, you can hear it being pushed, but there's no tactile feedback to tell you that yes, the picture has been taken, which is a pain in the bum. It's just not very, and it's the same for this camera. It's the same here for the R6. There is no tactile feedback, which is a real pain in the bum. But other than that, yeah, the controls, you can reach them all. There's actually a nice tactile wheel here at the top, and this one here, you can use them for shutter speed and your aperture, and then you can push that to change your ISO. Which is really nice. You've got the on and off button here at the top and the mode dial here. Now, obviously there's no screen. You've got a nice little record button and a hot shoe mount, which can either be used for a speed light, a flashlight, a flash gun, or a microphone. And then here on the back, we have all the buttons that you could ever really want. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 9 buttons, including the menu button. And yeah, there's no, there's no wheel here. But to be fair, I did actually prefer that. When I moved over to the R6, I actually tried to click the wheel on the back because I was expecting it to click and it didn't click. And I realized that that's not how you then used it. You had to then use the wheel, which I was used to on my old 5Ds, but not on this because I'd been using this so much. So if you're coming from a higher end camera like this, or one of the older DSLRs like the 6D, the 5D, or even like a 1D range camera, then you might have a problem with this little thing here, getting used to the little dial here because it's clicky and it's quite nice. It's a bit mushy, but it's okay. But not having the twist there might be a problem for you. Now, unfortunately, we do only have one card slot and it's not on the side. It's on the, it's in the bottom here. One SD card slot, which is a real shame, really. Could have really done with 2 or at least 1 or on the side. Here, look, like the R6 does and like basically every other Canon does today, 1 on the side, but also that does then transmit into the fact that this is such a thin camera. It's ridiculously thin. Now, overheating. This is a small camera. It's not got much space to spread out the heat if it overheats. Personally, I have never had this camera overheat, even when recording for extended period of time in quite severe outdoor summer heat. I'm not saying it doesn't and will not overheat, but I have never had it overheat. It is very unlikely that this will overheat. If you are worried about overheating, keep it in the shade, keep it out of direct sunlight, yada, yada, yada. So what did I think of the EVF? The EVF, well, to be fair, I didn't really notice EVF versus an OVF. An EVF is an electronic viewfinder and an OVF is an optical viewfinder. An optical viewfinder is usually found something like a DSLR, a digital single lens reflex camera, whereas this doesn't have a mirror, so it has an EVF, an electronic viewfinder. I didn't really notice that it was an EVF. It had lots of nice benefits. I kind of adapted really, really quickly to it. I didn't see many downsides to it. One thing that I did notice is the EVF sensor here at the back is very, very sensitive, like ridiculously sensitive, especially if you're just kind of trying to just reach over to something and it will just trigger the EVF. And if you trigger the EVF, then this screen goes blank. So, yeah, you then lose your main screen, which you might be thinking, well, that's fine. But when you're trying to, when you're trying to reach over with your hand or something and you block the EVF by mistake, because I've done it myself. I've had the screen here like this, for example, it's facing towards me, and I've tried to reach over to turn this rather than using my other hand, because maybe my other hand has something in my hand. I've reached over to turn this around, or I've done something and I've just blocked that and I then can't see the screen, which is just really annoying because it is just really, really sensitive. So on that aspect, yes, I do prefer an EVF. And to be fair, to be able to see what I'm focused on is really, really nice. I can see exactly what the picture's going to look like, rather than an estimate of what it might look like through the viewfinder. So, what do I think? Yes, I think this is great. For under £1,000 second hand, I think this is a really good camera. It has lots of benefits. It has downsides, but it has lots of benefits, especially if you are coming from something like the original 6D or maybe the 5D3, maybe something like that, an older DSLR. If you're already into mirrorless cameras, then no, stay away. Go with something else. But this will open a lot of doors for you, and you will enjoy it. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me in this video. I'll see you in the next one.